Hey everybody, it's Never, and today we're going to talk about the best instance in the whole game. So I'm of course talking about Ulduar, the best instance in the whole game. This place is just loaded with awesome stuff, like Titan's lore and really great fights. We're gonna dive right in and start talking about Flame Leviathan. So you hop into Ulduar and there's like this confusing thing because there's like this Indiana Jones dwarf standing there and a bunch of big old stone guys, and you just like talk to some of them. And if you talk to one of them, it's like, all right, we're gonna start the fight. If you talk to the other one, it's like, oh, let's make the fight way more difficult. Now it used to be the other way where you talk to him to make the fight easier. And before that, it was like you shoot down some towers to make the fight easier, and so it took forever. But you get into these vehicles, you see, and so there's three vehicles. There's a motorcycle, which is, you know, what the cool kids drove, and then there's a big tank, and that was like you shoot stuff with the tank, and you interrupt flame jets and whatnot when you get to the boss. You know, not very interesting. But then there's the Demolisher, and it had two really cool jobs. I guess three, actually, but there's two people that drive each one of these, which is cool. So the Demolisher, you had the guy in the Demolisher and the guy on top. And the guy in the Demolisher was the one who was driving it. And he'd shoot out all these rockets, and I guess they're boulders and stuff, and he could shoot this stuff called pyrite, which is like this blue stuff, it's like blue Gatorade that you can fire, and it messes, like, so you think about a robot and whatnot. What do you want to do to a robot? You never get it wet, or it'll short circuit and stuff. So you're shooting blue Gatorade at these robot things, and it's gonna mess them up real good. So we've got that part, and then you got the guy on top. And so he's sitting there just waiting, and he's got this little hook shot thing, and he can hook shot the Gatorade bottles and get you more, so you can shoot more. And it's really useful, and he does this other thing I'll get to in a minute. So you get in your vehicles and you drive all over the place, and then there's towers, and there's a big spider robot and all that stuff. You just blow them all up. Iron dwarves dead everywhere. And then you finally get to the boss, and you blow up some other guys, and then the boss comes out, and he's like straight up robot. And so he comes out, he starts saying some robot stuff, and then it's time to beat Flame Leviathan. Now here's the secret to beating Flame Leviathan. This still matters if you're soloing him, but people just could not figure it out. And so they try and shoot him and kite him and stuff. That doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, you don't want him to run over you, but the secret to beating Flame Leviathan is that blue Gatorade, the pyrite. So what you want to do is that stuff stacks, right? So you just shoot all the blue Gatorade at him you possibly can. And meanwhile, people in the siege tanks are shooting down more blue Gatorade from their little Gatorade helicopters in the sky. And then the person on top of the Demolisher is using his hookshot, and he's just like, get over here, and pulling that blue Gatorade up so he can refill you. So you can keep those stacks up. You can get, from two Demolishers, you can get 2 stacks of blue Gatorade pyrite rolling on this guy, and they will melt his face off. I remember one time back in the day when Ulduar was current, I mean, we burned Flame Leviathan down in like 40 seconds or some nonsense like that. It just wrecked his face. And so you can do it too. You hop in that Demolisher, you run over all those dwarves on the way there, and you get there and you're like, what's up, Flame Leviathan? And you just spit that blue Gatorade all over him. Don't use any until you get there. But you load that up on him and he'll just die. He's gone. But in the middle of the fight, sometimes he would like put up, I don't know if it was a shield or some rocket launcher or something he'd do. And so the person on the top of the Demolisher, he had to get launched from it onto Flame Leviathan and then DPS that thing down. And that was pretty cool, because I was a kitty cat at that time, and I got launched off of that Demolisher all the time. And it was pretty neat. It's tough to solo that achievement. I don't even think you can. But yeah, Flame Leviathan was really something else. Very unique boss. And it's still kind of like Malagos. It's sort of a barrier to people who can't read, even today. Because if you don't know what to do, you're going to have a bad time. You can get out and solo Flame Leviathan if you're pretty geared now at level 100 just by like hitting it with your weapon and stuff, which is ridiculous. But I mean, man, Flame Leviathan, there's so much to talk about with that fight. I've taken so much time. So let's move right on to the hallway. Now you get in this hallway and there's two bosses in it. One of them is Ignis, the flame, or the furnace master. And he's just a big, fat, ugly rock guy, kind of like that Flame Watcher guy that we talked about the other day. So you go in there and he's got all these fire things around him that they don't matter. You just blow them up and then you go and fight him. And he starts saying crazy stuff about the furnace, and so he's got this thing called the slag pot. Okay, and I gotta paint this picture for you in case you're not looking. This slag pot is like a little metal pouch that attaches to his belt. I'm not kidding about this. And so then the worst thing that could possibly happen would just straight up happen. He would take someone from the raid and he'd dip them in the slag pot. And that was extremely uncomfortable for that person. Because if there was any way to feel violated, it was to be put in the metal pouch attached to this guy's belt. Because this guy's got this big twirly mustache. I mean, he's going pretty Chesterfield here. I'm not even comfortable with talking about him, really. So anyway, we beat him, and like the casters, they had to stop casting and they get interrupted, and they never do it, so they were interrupted all the time. People would get mad, and then you could take his little buddies and let them get really hot, and then put them in the water and blow them up, and you get some kind of achievement for that. So anyway, Ignis, the trick with him is you just beat him really fast. I should have mentioned that the trick with Flame Leviathan is to leave those towers up, because then he goes absolutely crazy, and he's firing off all this extra stuff with laser beams and pillars of fire and all kinds of crap. I mean, it's no joke, and it's still even kind of tricky to do by yourself today. But then, after Ignis, we've got Razor Scale. So Razor Scale's a big dragon, but it's like a robot dragon, but like made of stone or something. I don't know. It's like a stone, an iron proto-drake, or maybe it's got armor on it, or it's got runes. So, okay, it's got runes on it, and it's a proto-drake from Northrend, so it's basically a Death Knight proto-drake, okay? So, it's pretty cool, and I'll come back to how cool Razor Scale is. And so, you go there, and there's these harpoons, right? And you shoot the harpoons at Razor Scale and pull her on down. It's a girl, by the way. You pull her on down to the floor so you can DPS the crap out of her. But all the while, you've got yourself a bunch of ads that you've got to fight, and they are really kind of a pain. But you have a group, and they're good at stuff, and so then you fight the ads, and then you bring Razor Scale down, and then you just start wailing on her, bam, 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 until you get her to 50%, and then she's grounded for good, and she'll stay down, and so you get this achievement if you can get her to 50% fast enough that she only takes off again like one time or something. But then you get her to 50%, and now the tanks have got to get this thing where their armor gets like fused or something. And what happens is it makes them slower and slower, and if you have the same tank take her for too long, then he's gonna get all stuck. And it's like Winnie the Pooh and Rabbit's door. There's nothing you can do about it. You just gotta wait it out. So then the other tank's gotta take, and you should swap before that happens, people, but no one ever did. People always getting stuck there. And it's like, quick, burn the boss down or we're gonna die! And so you burn the boss down so you don't die. And that was Razor Scale, basically. And if that fight's not going well, and you're not getting the achievement you want, because there's an achievement where you get Razor Scale to kill a bunch of dwarves with her fire breath while she's grounded, it's tricky to do. The hardest part of the meta achievement for Ulduar is doing that right there. And so if it's not going to work, you just jump off that cliff and start over. Because otherwise, stuff in there can't kill you now, so be smart about it. And then next after Razor Scale, okay, when I was actually doing this with Ulduar, when it first came out, my buddy and I, he was the raid leader, I was the GM, we had prepared so much to get ready to do this instance. We'd studied it and everything, and then finally it's like, the day has come. And so we hop in and we start doing Flame Leviathan, and people are just being idiots. They're driving all over the place in their cars and making a mess, and they had said, hey, we want to progress on this and be competitive on our server. But instead, we just got a bunch of people screwing around. And so we were like, all right, you guys, if you don't even want to do this, then we're not even going to do it. So then everyone gets all quiet and ashamed, and then we finally, go through it, and we don't, I don't remember if we got Ignis or Razor Scale or whatever, but eventually we make it to XT Deconstructor. Now this is the strangest robot I have ever seen. And what makes this robot such a weirdo is that, so we've got a tank back in the day. We had my buddy who was a warrior tank, and then we had this other tank who was a paladin tank. And this is before transmogging, and that's important. I'm going to come back to that. But we get there, and our paladin tank sees this robot, and this robot's doing like Mickey Mouser size or whatever. And he loses his marbles just laughing at this guy, and he says that guy's doing calisthenics. And now a bunch of us started scratching our heads there, because we would normally say working out or aerobics or cardio or something, but no, he goes way back to 1945, and he's like all calisthenics. And so that made all the rest of us laugh, and then we were completely useless after that, because we're so stressed out from Flame Leviathan being so different and weird. And then we get to this nonsense, and everybody's just all wound up. And so we did not even progress on that boss at all because of calisthenics. And so then we go fighting that boss, and it was like one of the bosses around there, I forget which one, but that tank got a punch of he got a pair of really nice plate pants, only they were banana freaking yellow. They just stood right out there, and they were such an upgrade, he had to wear them. And so he's got a pretty nice matching set so far. It's all purple and gray and sinister looking from Nax. And then he comes to Ulduar, and it's like, Shazam! Yellow pants. So we made fun of him forever after that. Anyway, back to XT Deconstructor. So this robot says a lot of funny stuff about his toys and whatnot. And that's all well and good. But then you start fighting him, and you fight him, and he gets tired, and then his heart comes out. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I think having your heart come out when you're asleep is just a stupid idea. So whoever designed that robot is really not looking out for him. And so his heart comes out, and of course, what are we gonna do? We DPS the ever-living crap out of that heart. And so then you do that, and he loses some health, and you go back and forth, and finally kill him. But then later on, once we've progressed a bit in Ulduar, we got some gear, right? We're pretty strong. So we start DPSing that heart, and then inside the heart phase, you kill the heart, because it has a separate health bar and stuff. And when you kill that heart, you think, oh, he's dead. Nope. Instead, he comes back to life, and he's super extra strong, and now you gotta beat him with it's hard mode. You kill that heart, and it's hard mode, so you don't want to do it unless you're ready for it. Be prepared, for that heart to die. So anyway, past Deconstructor, you get in, and it's the Iron Assembly. And so you take the hallway to the left, and there's these 3 Iron Dwarves. Because there's 3 different Iron Dwarf models, and they're different. And each of them has got his own special abilities. Now there's a trick to these guys, okay? There's the little one who shoots a bunch of lightning. There's the medium one who's kind of I don't know, he probably listens to lots of rock and roll and stuff, and he doesn't have his shirt on. He's always kind of headbanging while he casts stuff. Then there's the big one. And the big one he's the meanest, obviously. And I don't know how these guys get along or what they do all day in there. But, they seem to be having a good time for thousands of years. So anyway, you fight them, and if you want to do it easy, you kill the biggest one, then you kill the medium one, then you kill the little one. Just like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears or whatever. If you want to do it the hard way, you leave that big one for last, because every time you kill one of them, the other ones get real pissed off. And so you kill that big one, and the medium one's like, I hate you guys, and he makes these big runes. And then by the time you get to that little one, he's like, this is my final form! And he turns into crazy lightning dude. If any of you have ever played Mass Effect, you remember that little Volus who's I'm a biotic god? Basically, he's that dude. And so then you finally beat that guy, and you open it up, this door in the back. right? And so you open that door up, and inside of it is like this thing, like go do all these quests and beat these things, and you can open this crazy door on the other end of the hallway. And you're like, okay, whatever. No big deal. So then we go back and we go up the stairs to the middle of the hallway, and then there is Kolagarn. Now this guy is basically just a big old pun. And so he does crazy stuff like shoots I-beam lasers at you and his arms fall off, and you can break his arms up at the same time and do a bunch of damage to him and stuff like that. Anyway, Melee had to stand like right up against his chest. I mean, you had to hug this guy in order for him not to hit you with his I-beams. But then the ranged, they had to stay way back there and make sure that they didn't, there was something they had to not do. I forget what it was, but they never did it, so there was always trouble. And so then you finally kill him and you knock him backwards. And I should point out that there's a joke in World of Warcraft. If you never did Ulduar, you won't really get this, but you may have seen some stuff like that. Like if there's ever a big ugly boss who's just kind of standing in a pit and you can see him from the waist up and he's got his arms there and he's trying to squish you, you might hear people in chat saying, "Oblivion!" And that's basically what Kolagarn says. He just says Oblivion all the time, and I don't even know why, but that's what that's from. That's where that comes from. So yeah, Oblivion over and over again. What a jerk. So then you move on from Kolagarn and you go down and you got this big old circular thing, and there's all these doors to bosses all around it. And then there's this one boss. Okay, this person looks just like Maiden from Kara. And she's got these cats following her. And so the first thing you obviously think is, oh, it's crazy cat lady fun time. And so you go there and the crazy cat lady's there. And so you start fighting her. And as soon as you aggro her, okay, so those kitties that she's got, they are not just precious little kittens, okay? They will mess you up. So you attack and then those cats all pounce on one dude. Dude is dead. And so, because we weren't that geared when we started fighting this part, we would actually just have like a sacrificial lamb when we did this fight, because all the cats would jump on one person. So we would take, it was usually our shaman, because he could self-res, and so we'd send that shaman in, and he'd cast one spell at Crazy Cat Lady, and good luck pronouncing Crazy Cat Lady's actual name. There are so many vowels in there, I don't even know what to do. So, Crazy Cat Lady forever, right? So then our shaman goes in there, aggroes her, and those cats just all jump right on him. And we make sure that the tank charges immediately after the cats pounce so we don't lose aggro when the shaman dies. And so the shaman is dead, right? And then he reses, and then we buff him up and stuff. And I would ninnervate him because we still had that in his coming back. So then we start fighting Crazy Cat Lady, and she spawns a cat once in a while, and you deal with the cat and whatnot. But then you fight her, she'd fear you into all kinds of crap, and so you had to make sure and clear trash all around that place before you fought her, and it's a tricky fight. But then here's the craziest part. I don't know if you guys have ever paid much attention, but there's this song by the Beatles called Why Don't We Do It in the Road? It's not hard to figure that one out. But right at the beginning of the second verse, Sir Paul McCartney lets out what may be the most amazing scream in music. And so I grew up listening to the Beatles, and I thought, man, that scream, we will never top that ever. Well, I was wrong. When you kill Crazy Cat Lady, the scream she lets out is stuff of legends. And so if you do nothing else as a result of this video, I want you to go kill Crazy Cat Lady in Ulduar and listen to that scream when she dies. And you just wait to be speechless, okay? And then you come back here and you leave a comment and tell me what you thought of that scream. And if you know of a better scream, then link it up, because you're gonna have a hard time finding one that rivals this. So that's Crazy Cat Lady. And so then you'd usually want to go and do Hodir. Now, I don't know when the first book of A Song of Ice and Fire came out, but I'm pretty sure it was after Hodir was invented. Otherwise, there would have been jokes all over the place, and he would have said his name a bunch. So, Hodir is, I don't know, kind of a play on the name Odin, I guess. But he's a big frost giant, and he's all up in there, and you go through this tunnel and you get to him, and there's these dudes that are frozen. And if you're smart, you unfreeze the dudes and they help you out a lot. If you're stupid, you ignore them like we did. And so the trick with Hodyr's room is anyone who did the Nexus, that was a dungeon, would know it's like, okay, for the last boss, you don't stop moving or it'll freeze you to the ground. Same deal here, only it's a big problem this time. And you can't get out of it by jumping. So you kite Hodyr around the room. You gotta constantly be moving or people will get stuck. And then he drops these piles of snow. You do not want the piles of snow to fall on you or you get frozen right away. Everyone's got to waste their time getting you out. And so naturally people get frozen all the time. And so then after the snow piles drop, we'll step up. You got to jump onto the snow pile and then he's going to freeze the whole ground. And then you jump off the snow pile because more's going to come down or something like that. So Hodyr's really just like Heigen 2.0. You got to be constantly moving. You got to move off of stuff, move onto stuff, move off of stuff and back. And you got to make sure that people that get frozen get unfrozen. Unthawed, yeah, that makes sense. And then that's how Hodyr works. And so if you can kill him super fast, you get like this frozen box of goodies with extra gear that none of us ever really saw. But then you got this other box for like regular people. And we got boxes out of that. We got gear. And then you go out and Hodyr's door opens and he goes out to the middle circle place where Crazy Cat Lady is now. If you talk to Hodyr, then he's like, I will help you in your final battle in this place. And so back in the day, you really had to do that. But now, if you're looking to get achievements or you want to get like Mimiron's head, the mount, the last thing you ever do is talk to those guys. Because once you talk to them, I don't even remember if you can untalk to them. Maybe you can by now. But you just wait. You go do an Ulduar run with people, and as soon as the first Guardian dies, everyone's gonna be like, don't talk to him, or we'll kick you out of the group. I mean, they get super aggressive. So don't talk to those guys ever. They're not for talking to. So we go around, and then the next person that we would do is Thorim. So you can see there's kind of like a Norse mythology thing going on here. Hodyr, Thorim. There's Loken out in Halls of Lightning. And so Thorim was a really cool fight. And you go in there and you fight some Alliance guys. I'm sure it's probably Horde guys if you're Alliance. And I imagine the Alliance probably like wiping to the Horde NPCs a bunch of times. It just kind of makes sense that they would. So you go there and you fight Alliance, and then there's this big worm and you kill it. And so then there's this big old lever that you pull. And then half of your group goes down inside of this tunnel, and the other half stays in the arena. Okay, and so then Thorim makes one of the most famous speeches anywhere. So you ran into him before up in the Storm Peaks, way up in the mountains of Storm Peaks, and you talked to him, and then when he was like, his brother was all messed up, his brother Loken, so then you go down inside of this place, and he looks at you, he's like, you. I remember you in the mountains. And then nobody really listens to anything else after that because, the way he says in the mountains, I guess it just became super popular. And so when people talk about in the mountains, that's what they're talking about when Thorim's like, in the mountains. So that's what that is. So then I always had to go down through the tunnel. Staying in the arena, that's for sissies. Because the tunnel's all like, really intense. So you're fighting all these dudes and then these cannonballs will come on the left side or the right side and you gotta dodge those suckers. And it's not like they roll slowly. Those things fly on down that hall. And so you go and you fight them and then you kill the dude that's sending those things out. And you gotta be quick because there's a timer and the people in the arena can't last forever. And so then you keep on going and you go up the stairs and then there's these things and you walk right through, boom, hit by a trap. Every time people get hit by the trap. And I'll tell you what, the trap is this big circle on the ground. It is very easy to see. It's so easy to see, you think it's a decoration and just part of the environment. Nope, trap. And so you walk into it and you're frozen for like 15 seconds and you're just like, because if you do it quick enough, you get an achievement and stuff. But no, people walk in that trap every time and it just like traps everyone. And so then, all right, the trap's worn off and you run forward and you can see in plain sight in front of you that there is another one right there. And guess what? People walk right into it every time. Trap another like 15 seconds, you're just stuck. And then the timer runs out, you can't get hard mode, and you don't get an achievement, so instead you're just like, fine, we'll just kill the stupid boss. And so you go and Thorim jumps on down into the arena, and then everyone jumps down after him, and then it's on. And so you start fighting Thorim down there in that arena, and he does some stuff and throws some lightning, and his hammer hits people and stuns them and whatnot. Anyway, we eventually kill the boss, and he's all freaking out about how his beloved Sif was not even his beloved at all. It was really just a tentacle all along. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. So that's suspicious. And so then after Thorim, we move right along to Freya. Now Freya, you met her. She's the person who's in Sholazar Basin, right? It's like her avatar. So basically, Freya's like stuck up in Ulduar, okay? And she's playing a video game of World of Warcraft, and her character is in Sholazar Basin. You get to interact with it. So now you get to meet her for reals. And she's inside this druid place, all up inside of Ulduar. And I don't even know how that works. There really isn't like sunlight and stuff in there, so I don't know how these plants can grow, but they do. They grow so much that they come alive and walk around and fight you. So you go in there, and there's these 3 trees, okay? And if you leave the trees alive, then they mess stuff up, and they will ruin your day and make the fight really hard. If you kill all the trees within a certain amount of time of one another, you get a different achievement. So you got to kill Freya like a bunch of times to get all the stuff. So Freya doesn't really have proper health. I mean, she's got it, but it doesn't work the same way. She starts out with 100 stacks of bark skin or something. And every time you kill her friends, she loses some stacks. And those stacks reduce the damage she takes by a certain amount. And so every once in a while, she'll summon a bunch of these dudes. And there's some easy ones and there's some hard ones. The easy ones are, come on, none of them are easy. They're hard because people can't follow directions. So there's the first hard one is this set of 3 guys. And there's a storm lasher and an elemental water thing or whatever. Anyway, they all have to die within 12 seconds of one another, or they all res. Well, guess how hard that is for people. They can't stop DPS with, I'm just gonna kill this one. And then, of course, they don't kill the next one in 12 seconds, and so then they start all over again. And if you don't kill them all fast enough, then you've got the next bunch to worry about along with them. So that led to a lot of trouble. You kill them and she loses 5 or 10% of her bark skin or whatever. And then there's another one where there's all these little guys, and the first thing you think is, I'm just gonna AoE the crap out of these. Good job, because they explode when they die. So if they all die at the same time, everyone explodes and dies. So you gotta single target them down. And then there's another one where these mushrooms grow or something, and you can stand in the mushroom, or you can't cast anything. So it's just a big old mess. It's an ad fight, and it's one of the least forgiving ad fights that I know of. I mean, it's tougher than Gothic the Harvester. And finally, you get her shield down enough that you can DPS her. And there were some really good guilds that would just kill one set of things and then just DPS her so hard she'd die. Yeah, it's tough. So anyway, you finally get Freya dead, and she looks just like a crazy cat lady, by the way. So there's Maiden, and then another Maiden, then Crazy Cat Lady, and then Freya. All look alike, or at least really similar. So, yeah, Wizardry using boss models, but at least you don't see the 2 of them at the same time in the same place, so there's that. So once Freya's dead, you cart on out of there, and you can mount in her room, by the way. So you're like, oh man, now we gotta walk again, because, I don't know, we're inside and our mounts are claustrophobic or something. And so then you go, and it's Mimiron time. Okay, so Mimiron is a little robot gnome, and you go through this little fun house to get to him, and you ride this train. Now I'm telling you, riding that train is really cool. You get on that train, it goes really fast, and you're just like, I just rode a train. And so we ride that train back and forth several times just because it was so great. And finally, we're done with the train, we go down, and here we go. Frogger 2.0. Now the first Frogger was after Patchwork. I even forgot to talk about it in my Nax video, but basically it's like these, after Patchwork, it's these slimes that move across the floor really slow and they're easy to avoid, but you touch it and you're dead. And people would die all the time. So this one, it's the same thing except it's bombs and they're moving kind of fast. But you can see them coming a mile away and people still died. So Mimiron is the biggest troll in the whole game. And I don't mean he's like a troll, I mean he's just messing with you. Because you go into that room, okay, and he's just working on his little robot car or whatever. And then you look in the back of the room and there's this big shiny red button that says don't push this. And so of course, what's everybody want to do? Push the button. And so then I'll tell you what that button does in a minute, but basically you fight that first car that he's doing when you start the fight normal, just by like, punching him in the face. And so you fight that first car and you beat it, and it's like, it's tricky, and there's these mines that go around and they blow things up, and then the second robot comes out, and it's like these robot arms and torso. Some of you already know where this is going. And so you fight the robot arms and torso, but there's this thing it does called laser barrage. And I kid you not, laser barrage will mess you up. Way up until like Warlords of Draenor. I mean, like even in Mists of Pandaria, laser barrage could kill you. Right out. And so you gotta stand behind it or the lasers will hit you. Pretty common sense, right? People cannot do that. They cannot stand behind it. They have to stand in front of it and get shot by the lasers. I can't figure out why, but they sure do. And so then, in the midst of all of that, you've got all these other robots coming out that you got to deal with, and they do different stuff. But then the head robot comes out. And so then this head flies. It's got a copter on top of it. And so that head flies up there, and you've got to kill these little robots to get a magnet. And you use the magnet, it sucks the head down, and you can DPS it with the melee too. And so you finally do that, and then you kill the head. Well, then it's serious business time, and all three parts of the robot form together to make Voltron. I'm not even kidding, it's just straight up called Voltron, except it spells it with 0 and 7, right? So it's not Voltron, but it's totally Voltron. And so then you got to deal with all the crap at once. And that's tricky, and they've all got to die within like 15 seconds of each other, or they regenerate. So good luck. That's really hard to do as melee. Make sure if you're a rogue, you better take Shuriken Toss. If you're a druid, then you'll probably be fine. Just cast your Moonfire over and over at it. So, I mean, that's the normal fight. A lot going on, mines on the ground and stuff. So then if you push that big red button, then if that button does not suffer fools, you guys, because it makes it so that the whole room catches on fire. And so what it does is every few seconds, wherever you were standing, there's going to be fire there. Just a big old patch of fire. And if you've got 25 people in that room, or even 10, that means there is fire everywhere. And so you got to move to somewhere else, which then, of course, later spreads the fire to there. And so there's fire all over the place, and you can't stand in it. People would, but you shouldn't. And so then eventually there's these little robots that come out, and they've got water, and they put the fire out. But people would kill them. I can't even figure out why, but people would kill the robots that are helping us with the fire. And I'll tell you a secret about this fire, okay? Now, you may remember something that Gandalf said when he's fighting the Balrog. He's like, I'm a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of honor. And so that's not the fire I'm talking about. This fire secret, the secret to this fire is that if you're not even in Mimiron's room, you can be almost anywhere in the instance, and the fire will get you. So you can't escape it. One day, someone went all the way down there and pushed the button while we weren't looking, because everybody was on break to go get some food or whatever during raid. And someone pushes that button, and we come back just in time. There's fire all over the place, and so we had to wait. Eventually, the fire killed us. So that's really, that fire does not know any bounds, and it will find you wherever you go. So then after Mimiron, we ride the train back because we didn't realize there was a teleporter, so we ride that train on back. And then it starts to get a little weird. You go inside this hallway, right? And there's, all of a sudden, it's been like robots and Titan stuff the whole time up here. And you go inside this hallway, and then it's like straight up old gods people. Like nasty tentacle dudes and Twilight cult dudes, and you're like, oh no, stuff's been going bad in here. And so you go in there and you fight them, and then you get down and there's like these broken stained glass things, and it's like one of the most beautiful parts of any instance ever. It's so cool. And you go down, and then there's this guy called General Vizax. Now I want to make no mistake about General Vizax. He is a freak. He's got like a crab drill on one arm and a pincer on the other, and I don't even know how this guy gets anything done. I mean, you just, how does he do his laundry, or what? How did he become a general with all this stuff? Anyway, he's a real piece of work. And you fight him, he's got this, he says some weird stuff too. Just listen to what that guy says. Like, I can't even remember what he says, but he gets real worked up about it. So he's got this stuff like this misty serenite crap that comes out, and eventually that serenite, if you let enough of it out, it will form this serenite animus, which is basically like a serenite elemental. And if you kill that thing, you get an achievement, but it takes forever. And you can't really regen mana in that room, so you got to do this goofy thing to get mana back. So it's really hard to last that long. Anyway, you finally kill him, and then it's time for things to really turn up a notch. Bam! And so you go into the next room, and this is the room where Yogg-Saron is. And you may have heard some people in like Grizzly Hills talking about this dude, the Beast of 1,000 Maws or whatever. And so you go in there, and you see this girl standing in a puddle of goo. This girl's name is Sarah, and she's like, all right, we got to defeat these guys. And so you're like, okay, Sarah, cool. Sarah's like this pretty hot viral chick, and so you want to do what she says. So you go in there, and all these nasty things come out of these clouds, and you start fighting them. You blow them up right in front of Sarah's face, and she, like, it starts taking her health down. And so that's weird. And then you realize, uh-oh, Sarah's not a good guy. And so then Sarah was like totally double-crossing you. And she's like pulling straight up Mumra from Thundercats. And as soon as you get her health down, she's like, I've had enough of this. Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form to Mumra, the ever-living! And so then it turns into Yogg-Saron, boom, and just comes out. And there's nasty mouths and tentacles everywhere, and it's just disgusting. Like, Yogg-Saron is the last thing you ever want to find, like, attached to your skin or whatever. It is gross. And it's really messed up. Like, it'll drive you crazy. Okay, so I need to make some personal confessions about this. Okay, when we were progressing on Yogg-Saron, I got really sick. And, like, I don't get sick very often because I take pretty good care of myself, but I got really sick. And when I get sick, my brain starts to go a little crazy because, like, I'll go down like a whole thing of NyQuil or whatever so I can sleep and heal and stuff. But like, I got in this state where I was like halfway between awake and asleep, and we've been studying the fight so much and progressing on it and stuff. And like, Yogg-Saron started messing with my dreams, yo. It was a mess. And the mechanic in the fight is you got this thing called sanity. It's this debuff, so you can't click it off. And you start out with 100 sanity, so you're like pretty normal. I probably personally start out with like 45, but in the game I started with 100. And every time he does something to you and you screw it up, you lose some sanity. And if you lose all your sanity, you're mind controlled forever till everyone dies. And you do not want that, because you will wreck everyone if you get mind controlled. It's like as bad as Blood Queen, which we'll get to in another video. So, Yogg-Saron sanity, you gotta face away from him and fight all the tentacles that do different stuff. And so I was sick, right? And we had been studying all this, so I kept having these really messed up Yogg-Saron dreams that were really crazy. It was really unsettling, and when I finally got better, I was like, maybe I don't need to fight Yogg-Saron for a while, because it really shook me a little bit, you guys. And so I couldn't tell what was real and not, kind of hallucinating things. So the moral of the story is, don't progress on Yogg-Saron while you're sick, and maybe don't drink all that much NyQuil. So you have these portals that open up in Yogg-Saron's fight, right? And you go inside of them, and it's showing like these visions of the past when Yogg-Saron was like, I'm totally gonna influence things. And so it's like the assassination of the King of Stormwind or whatever. Yogg-Saron was like, yeah, I did that. Or like the Lich King doing something like oh, I can't even remember. Anyway, it's basically he was behind all kinds of stuff, all messing with people. And so it was really meta for me because it's like he was messing with me too while I was sleeping. And so I had this appreciation for that fight. And so then after you fight, you kill all the tentacles in the past from the visions of his mind, and you go into the brain room. Now, the brain room has this like 20-second long cast or something that it's doing, and maybe it's longer than that. And you can fight the brain, and if you don't kill it in time, you best get on out of there, or that brain will drive you insane. And so you usually have to go in the brain room a few times, but if you're really cool, you can get it in one shot these days. And you better not go insane in that brain room because it'll ruin everything. But then you finally kill the brain after enough cycles, you pop back out. And then it's all going down. And so then it's Yogg-Saron, and he's like, I'm just gonna finish you off. And he brings out these immortal guardian things. You can't kill them, but you can if you're really cool and overpowered. And so you start fighting those, and you just gotta burst him down so much before his lunatic gaze makes y'all go crazy. And you desperately try and fight it. And so then remember how you weren't supposed to talk to any of those guardians? Well, if you did talk to them, they help you out and they shoot them with lasers and they bring some of your sanity back. But we're doing it cool nowadays, and so we don't have any of those guys to help us. And so you go and you just gotta burn him down so fast, and you finally kill him, and then he's dead. And he's just this big, disgusting hump of goo on the floor. And then you wanna get, okay, so if you kill him without any of the keepers, that's called doing no light in the darkness. It's alone in the dark, zero light, all the same, mean the same thing. Alone in the dark is a reference to a classic game called Alone in the Dark, by the way. And so if you can manage to do that and kill him without the assistance of any of the keepers, you're a pretty cool dude, and you have a chance for the Mimiron's head mount to drop, and it will never happen. But you also have a chance to get this cool trinket that summons one of them tentacles to fight for you, and so that's kind of cool. So anyway, that was Ulduar. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of cool memories for it. I went partially insane while I was fighting the boss while you go partially insane. And I just want to say that there was this group of us that got together, right? And we were going to go on our server and do zero light Yogg-Saron for the first time and get the server first. And if you get the server first for that, you get a title called Death's Demise. It's basically the coolest title ever. And we could have gotten it because no one had gotten it on our server yet. And we could have done it. But people were idiots and they cheated me out of it. So yeah, that happened. I didn't get the cool title. Someone else came and got it before we could because people just wouldn't listen and they can't follow directions. And so my plea to you all is follow the directions of your raid leader and you'll get cool titles like Death's Demise. But if you don't, then you get nothing. Ulduar is the best instance in the whole game ever, and I love it, and I really hope that you all can enjoy it. And as cool as it is to go back and fight it and be all super overpowered, I wouldn't mind seeing individual wings of the place turn into 5-man dungeons in the future, because it's such a great instance that I think other people need to enjoy it. So if you have some fond memories of Ulduar, then please leave them in the comments. Tell us about your experiences, because there's so much stuff that happened in that place. There's way more stories to tell than I covered in this short video. So thanks for watching, and I hope it brought back some of the goodness for you, and I hope there's good stuff to come in the game. Okay, thanks, bye.